And it looks like we are live. Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Alexi. I will be the chronicler for this game. We are playing a game of Tales from the Low Cantrefs. This is session 4 of 4 of Tales from the Low Cantrefs, The Path Unwinding. This game has been organized through the Gauntlet gaming community. Find out more at gauntlet-rpg.com or by following it on Twitter at GauntletRPG. We're playing lots of games here each and every month on the Gauntlet, and at the end of this month, February, there'll be another Gauntlet Community Open Gaming, which is a cool opportunity to get in and play some games with the Gauntlet. It is completely free, and it's open to anyone out there who wants to join us for a game. You don't have to be a Patreon supporter to sign up for the Community Open Gaming. Definitely check that out. As I said, our game is Tales from the Low Cantrefs. This is a hearth fantasy coming-of-age game. It is a game powered by the apocalypse. It is filled with petty village politics, childhood superstitions, adults who just don't understand, strange magics, wild and ruined landscapes, monsters out of old folk tales, and the terrible responsibility of growing up. So I've really enjoyed running this series. We had to postpone this last session, but I am so glad that every player was able to come back for our postponed finale, so we can definitely get a nice capper on the series we've been running so far. Tales from the Low Cantrefs is a game in development from Luke Jordan of Games from the Wild Wood. We are really happy to be getting a chance to test out their game, and Luke even got in touch with me, sending me some new material for the epilogue, these stanzas of doom that plug into the years past move. So at the end of the session, we will get to see those going on and find out a little about the slowly building apocalypse that happens in the background of this story, and how our characters connect to those strange occurrences. So without further ado, I'm going to ask my lovely players to introduce themselves. As we go around, I'd love you to introduce just who you are, the player, so it can be quick. You should say your name, your pronouns if you wish, your online handle if you so desire, or anything else that someone should know about you. I can start us off. I am Alexi, he, him. You can follow all of my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. Definitely check out Back Again from the Broken Land, currently on Kickstarter. This is my zine quest game of small adventurers sharing stories on the long walk home from a calamitous war. I've been really excited by how many people have backed so far. The campaign's wrapping up real soon, so it's a race to see if I can put up this video before the campaign wraps up. But if you're interested in backing from the Broken Land, there'll be a way to sign up to hear more about it even after the campaign closes. That's me. Let's meet our players. Rosamund, will you tell us about yourself?
Yes, my name is Rosamund Hodge. I am on Twitter as Rosamund Hodge. Follow me for cute dog pictures and talking way too much about Star Wars. I'm knitting a scarf. It's really cool. And my character is Luned. She is 16. She has a dead older sister, a rebellious younger sister, and an overbearing mother. She is grieving for her older sister and trying to find out more details about her sister's mysterious death after she left town to get married, which is very unusual, the leaving town part, not the marriage. There just arrived a delegation from the other town, so she's hoping to get some information from them, which is becoming particularly urgent because there have been signs that her sister's spirit is not at rest, and that this might be somehow connected to the abandoned worship of the yew tree.
Nice. An expert summary, I have to say. And you'll see if you take a peek at the Character Keeper NPC tab that I've added some faces for the delegation from the other town, who will surely meet on screen soon enough, but I figured I should just preset them there. Next up, Chris, will you tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm Chris Newton. I use he, him pronouns. I'll be playing Ruga, the Blade playbook. She is 14 years old, growing like a weed, is the youngest of the two apprentices two apprentices to the blacksmith of the village. She is hard-headed, impulsive, and has a hard time asking for help. She is currently recovering from a fight with a giant saber-toothed cat thing, and is also currently recovering from being rescued by Luned, and is still trying to figure out how to actually apologize to Luned for the stuff she said right before she was rescued. And that is probably going to take a lot longer than than it really should.
Very good, very good. And I've popped up our character keeper here, so someone watching along can see Ruga's attitude displayed on her face there. The battle with the beast ended with the ancient magic in your family's spear coming to your aid. So that's surely something also on Ruga's mind, I imagine.
Yes, that's in there too. But mostly, the spear thing is really cool. But because she's a teenager, she is much more worried about how she's going to, talk to her friends after that whole episode.
Well, there we go. Fantastic. David, will you tell us about yourself? Oh,
when I remember to activate the mic. Yes, hi, my name is David. I use he/him pronouns. If you wish to find me online, then I am at Chap of Steel on Twitter. Since our last session of this, I've also begun running and likewise recording a session of this game as well, or of Tales from the Cantrefs, which you can find either the same place where you found this, I would imagine, or check out my Twitter if you wish to see a different cast of characters going through this game. So yeah, that's me. I am playing Gwyn, who uses he/him pronouns. He is a 14-year-old boy who is growing like a weed. He has sad eyes and a weak smile. Always has that slightly melancholy look to him, but a soft and musical voice. In spite of all that, his mother came from out of the village, though she died when he was young. He has been raised subsequently by his father, Rodri, who is the village carpenter and also maintains what passes for an inn in the village, where he serves ale and has been in preparation for this delegation showing up. Gwyn is in the Door playbook, which means he has access to mystical powers that he probably shouldn't have, and for all intents and purposes, have vanished from the world. Can open the 7 mystical doors. Last time we saw him enter the land of the dead to attempt to bring back the spirit of a boy who had been killed by the beast, but was unable to do so. And in fact, in confronting a powerful undead being calling himself Lord Rak, the spirit he was intending to save was consumed by the shade of Lord Rak. Needless to say, this is not stuff that he is cool with dealing with in any sense of the word, really. He where we left things, he was being blackmailed by Luned's sister into trying to help out, learn more about their elder sister.
Yeah, to be clear, that's the rebellious younger sister blackmailing you. In the interest of learning more about the unquiet spirit of Luned's older sister.
Indeed. And from a personal perspective, I think where I left things off last time, or where I'm looking to lead things this time, is that Barrow, who we'll be meeting shortly, helped Gwynfor in the immediate aftermath of his journey into the spirit lands, into the world of death. And he is quite interested in having a conversation with Barrow about this whole magic thing.
Yeah, there was kind of a moment where Barrow was revealing a little more about his own mystical connections, and you guys haven't like had the talk after that yet, I think. Very good. Well, speaking of Barrow, Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself and then about your character.
Hi, I am Dan Pusel. I'm a technical theater educator in North Texas, and I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Barrow, who uses he, them pronouns. Barrow is a 15-year-old, just awkward, all elbows and knees young man, young person in the Luned playbook, which gives him a sort of maybe slightly precognition. He can see maybe a little. He can predict things a little more accurately than other folks might be able to naturally. Let me see here. He is, sorry, my brain froze for a moment. He lives with his grandfather. He sort of apprentices with his grandfather a bit. His grandfather is kind of the town herbalist, maybe slightly a historian, and sometimes just the odd old man who lives on the edge of the woods. And yeah, last we met, I think Barrow had found that his friend Gwyn is kind of like him, is maybe the first person he's met who has these, who is a little off and is maybe just knocking on sorcery, and that is potentially very scary in this town where sorcery is verboten. So Barrow is very happy to see someone else with whom he can confide about this.
Absolutely. And speaking of this town, I should introduce Sindel, our village. This is a village located beyond a crumbling ruin, up on the high moors, by a long lake and near a leaning tower. And we've seen many of these features. We haven't been to the ruin yet, but perhaps we'll change that this session. The worship of the yew tree, one of the great trees, has been neglected in this town, and our protagonists have started to wonder a little bit about why. The adults don't really talk about this. There are a couple traditions that the town holds dear. There is the Festival of the Long Night, which includes the burning of effigies of sorcerers, and of course, drinking. And happens on the full moon closest to the winter solstice. And wouldn't you know it, that's just about here. I think we'll probably pick up on the day of the long night as we start our session. And the attitudes that the locals cling to include always honor the words of your elders, outsiders can never truly be trusted, and asking for help is the act of a child. So that's the village of Sindel. Let me ask folks. Actually, let me go back to make a mechanical note. Something we were talking about just before we started here. Luned, we were talking about whether your grief mechanic might be triggering, because one of the mechanics in this game is grief, and each playbook has something specific that happens when they are grieving. So Luned, do you think it's possible that we might be getting that grief going on, and if so, would you tell us a little about what it says on your playbook for that?
Okay, so just a second. I was looking at NPC pictures. Okay, my playbook says under grief, when you mourn someone who was important to you, you put everyone else first. You just have to be strong. Roll with advantage whenever you offer comfort, but mark where each time until you elapse and admit that you matter and you're hurting too. And so Luned has been mourning her sister for the entire game, but I think possibly the grief mechanic might become more of a factor in this section, because she's kind of starting to lose the grip that she's had on her emotions earlier in the game, where she was just very focused on trying to play peacemaker between her sister and her mother and be the responsible one. And now she's actually having outbursts and admitting to feelings. It's wild.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll keep that in mind for when you offer comfort, where there's an upside and a downside to it. You're getting advantage. You get an extra dice. You roll 3 and pick the 2 you like best, but you're also going to mark where each time you do it. Really exciting stuff. Let's ask a couple questions to paint the scene of the preparations for the Festival of the Long Night. Especially with our delegation in town. Well, Gwyn, actually, my first question is a little different from that. My first question is just, what have your nightmares been like recently?
Oh yeah, I think fairly intense. I think it's. I think he is he's definitely having dreams about Ninian and his death, and I think more generally just having sort of dreams where he is feeling himself sort of pulled into the mists of death once more. I don't think he has seen Lord Ruck in these dreams, but I think he's definitely had that thing where like. And I don't know if it's just something that I've experienced, but in those dreams when you know something is going to happen, but you wake up in that moment before it does, and
Nice.
I think that's definitely his feelings with Lord Ruck in his dreams at the moment. He's just sort of continually waiting for him to appear, but he hasn't yet.
Wow. Okay, that is intense. My other question is, how can you tell that the delegates from the other town, and we'll call the other town Onden, how can you tell that the delegates from Onden are disappointed by the rustic accommodations at your father's inn?
I think they have only made the very most meager efforts to not express that thing around them. It's they've almost certainly overheard it whilst doing other stuff, and I think as well they have probably essentially Gwyn and his father have essentially been surrendered their beds, shall we say, to the more senior of the delegates.
So you two are sleeping on the floor somewhere in the inn.
Yeah.
Your rooms have been taken, and nonetheless the Onden delegates seem unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Ruga, how can you tell around town that the citizens of Sindel resent the uppityness of these delegates from elsewhere?
Oh, I think it's pretty similar to how you're able to tell that the outsiders aren't particularly happy with the inn. Like, one of the customs in town is they don't trust outsiders, and that they don't trust outsiders. So like they're not particularly reticent about, especially when they're hanging out outside and the delegation is at the inn or is at some function, like everybody else is like, what a bunch of jerks those guys are. And they're not bashful about it. And the side eye they give is unabashed. The folks who are trying to make nice with them, like some of the leading people in Sindel, kind of have to go around and sort of ask people to sort of tone it down. Like I'm thinking probably Luned's mom especially has to like give stern looks and like some surreptitious finger pointing at some of the some of the grumpier older residents who are especially not shy about making it clear what they think of this delegation from from outside.
So the Pendry family using their kind of the last of their waning influence to try and keep just a little lid on the the overall discontent and murmuring in the village about these folks from Onden. Is that right?
I mean, that's my impression, and of course, Luned like can certainly like say kind of how she thinks her mom would sort of lean into this in order to try and keep the rest of the the villagers in line. But I get the impression that she would always be like sort of cutting her eyes at literally every person. Every time she walks the delegation through the village, her eyes are cutting at literally everybody else that's mumbling and grumbling on the side. And they sort of quiet and sort of shift out of the main thoroughfare so that at least they're not in plain sight talking about how rude and mean these visitors are.
Great. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Barrow, what gift do you and your grandfather manage to create for the delegation as a replacement for the expensive perfume that you used up in our first session?
I think a a fairly ornate, like a wreath that is of local flora that's that we would have made up the scent of the perfume, and when it's together without having been distilled, it sort of has a similar essence. But it's just the matter of getting the scent out of all of these plants is just incredibly time consuming. But yeah, I think a wreath of scented plants.
Got it. So less sophisticated in some way than the distilled perfume, but still a representation of the beauty that can be found in Sindel.
Yes.
Wonderful. Luned, we just heard about Barrow's the gift that Barrow and his grandfather helped to put together for the delegation, a wreath of scented flowers and herbs from Sindel, not as sophisticated as the distilled perfume, but the same message, hopefully. You have, Luned, amongst your equipment, a crest or emblem of your family. Can you tell me a little about what that looks like?
Let me just double check if I have any notes on that. I'm going to say that I have 2 items in my gear that I picked from the list, which were a crest or emblem of your family, and a circle of branches, which is a token of safe passage. And I think they're actually the same thing. The crest is a little silver circle of branches. Which trees do we worship again?
Everyone but the yew.
Okay. I think the peaceful willow. They're silver willow branches in a little wreath, and this is both an old crest of the Pendry family, and also it's it's a brooch, and it's like an emblem of safe passage between villages, because the Pendry family has a long history of being more open to outsiders and traveling more than is common in this world.
They're merchants, right? Like they manage the trade. Absolutely. How do you feel when your mother insists that you wear the this brooch for the dance before the festival of the longest night?
I think very ambivalent because, my sister died going to another, right after she went to another village to be married. And on the one hand, people have muttered that my mother brought this down on her by being too proud, or that my sister kind of deserved it for marrying an out-of-towner. And I absolutely reject that idea. But I do also feel kind of ambivalent about this symbol of traveling between towns, because that is how my sister died, even though I very much feel it wasn't her fault.
Yeah.
So I don't complain or anything, and I put on the brooch, but I'm definitely feeling very ambivalent.
Yeah. So I think we see, your mother like adjust the brooch and tell you, hold your chin up, Luned. And then take the step back and give like a nod of approval to your to your ensemble, because there was a new dress waiting for you also.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah. What color?
I think dark blue
Goes nicely with silver. Yeah. So, but you're not pushing back or complaining as your mother, seems to be setting something up without telling you much about it.
Yeah, I'm for once distracted, not hyper analyzing my mother and what she thinks of me, because I'm still so distracted by the big fight I had with my younger sister Gwyn, and I kind of impulsively accused her of being a sorcerer, I think, and I'm just kind of freaking out.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let's see the preparations for the festival of the longest night, as there are so there's going to be big bonfires eventually, but I think there are a number of smaller torches all through the town, right? Even as it's late afternoon, the sun is starting to get low, people are excited, so they're already putting out some of their torches and lanterns, and the town square of Sindel is starting to be aglow, right? And there's definitely some sort of dancing that's an important part of this festival, I think. Ruga, can you give me just a little sense of what that dancing looks like?
I think it's this combination of sort of a opposing line dance, and then it breaks off into pairs partway through each sort of song or music or musical number. You have there's the early songs, which is like a series of sort of maybe brooding, a little more somber. That's early in the night, and as the night goes on, because the longest night is also the part where the days start to get longer the very next day, towards the end of the festival, the dances and the musical numbers get a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more fun, a little bit more hopeful. So you start off sort of, it's a very sort of slow, methodical sort of dancing, where the movement back and forth between the two lines is very regimented. But as you get into the later stages, things get a little more interspersed, a little more upbeat, a little more fast movement, a little more upper body movement involved as well. And towards the end, you see that the lines will pair off and go into more of a traditional paired dancing sort of thing. And the lines just sort of get intermingled and mussed up. And at the end, it's basically just a bunch of folks dancing together instead of any sort of really formal thing. Kind of basically the somberness is bled off, and now by the end of it, it's an actual party.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. So there's this kind of arc from acknowledging the darkness to celebrating the return of the light. Yeah, we'll go ahead and say that the dancing is beginning, and I think all of our characters are probably if not caught up in the dance, at least there as the festivities are starting off. Gwyn, what do we see of you as the music is starting to play here?
Yeah, I think at the moment, certainly, Gwyn is stood a little off from the dancing itself. He's got his mother's cloak wrapped around him as usual, that had sort of pulled down on it, and I think he's kind of quite conspicuously or inconspicuously, depending on how you want to look at it, standing kind of in one of the few patches of shadow between a couple of big torches burning.
That's great. As you're there, you hear a creaky laugh, and if you look around for the source of it, it's not immediately obvious, but it seems like it came from the direction of the skull of the beast that the villagers had put up on a pole, and painted red and decorated as a trophy from that great battle.
Excellent. Yeah, I think Gwyn is going to kind of pull the cloak even tighter around himself and probably get lost under the hood, and continue lurking.
Barrow, let me ask you: Do you spot Gwyn lurking outside of the dance proper?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe Barrow is really tentatively trying to join in the early parts of the dance, and is maybe sort of sneaking off to the edge, just reluctantly trying the moves. It just doesn't really work for him. And so he is happy when he sees an escape, and I think he makes his way around the back of those torches and stands near Gwyn.
That's great. I will say that your grandfather is dancing up a storm,
yes,
and he gives you a cheery wave and smile as he spots you moving around. But yeah, what do you do when you approach Gwyn?
I think Barrow. Let's make it weird. Hey, I'm here. I don't want to. I didn't want to frighten you because I came from around the behind, and I didn't want to think I wasn't sneaking up on you.
That's okay. I was actually I wanted to see you, and could we maybe go somewhere less? And he's at waves around somewhere more private. I mean, it should be easy, I suppose. Tonight, everyone's here, so
yes. Actually, any place outside of the view of the effigies would be great. Would be awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, where do you go?
I think that we'll head. There was a. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, I was just. Yeah, so I think we head down to where the little stream with the wash house and the sort of laundry posts, because it's not somewhere anyone would have particular need to be at this time of night.
Yeah, abandoned
probably,
at the moment. Though it is the place where villagers often gather to gossip in normal times.
Exactly. I think there's maybe a couple of lit torches around here, so it's not like wandering into complete pitch darkness, but it's obviously a bit away from the festivities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we went looking for the beast, and you said that you thought you might be like me, or I might be like you. I guess I
think so. I think yes. Where what happened to you? I was looking at you, and then you fell down. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Right?
No, I think it was me. So for a little while now, I've been able to see and hear mostly, and sometimes see and feel the dead things. And I went into the land of the dead, and I was trying to save Ninian, but I couldn't save Ninian. I didn't really know how to do it. And there was this big skeleton man who called himself Lord Rock, and I tried to stop him, but I don't know what to do, and I need you to help me.
Whoa.
This is definitely opening up.
Whoa.
Gwyn, there's a move for this when you open up and offer someone comfort, company, or intimacy. And I feel like that's happening, right? You are sharing some important secrets here, and hoping to exchange comfort with this perhaps kindred spirit. Would you be up to roll plus honesty for me?
Absolutely.
Unless you want to turn to your peers before making this roll.
I don't think so. I think this definitely feels like barreling into it with little forethought. So that is a total of 4.
I'm so sorry, Gwyn.
Gwyn is not good with being open.
On a
mine. It was only only a 5. Sorry.
A 5.
It's all the difference.
On a miss, you are left awkward and exposed. Say what you do to feel less vulnerable. Then mark where. So all this spills out of you, right? And then my question is, what do you do as you feel awkward and exposed?
I think that Gwyn is going to kind of stop talking, catch his breath, and I think he is just going to panic and run like further out towards the edge of the village, further out into the night.
Oh, that's so sad. So like Gwyn starts to like bare his soul, and then just runs. Mark aware for that. And Barrow, your friend was starting to tell you something, and then suddenly started to run away. Let me push on this just a little more. Barrow, you get these premonitions of the future sometimes, right? Right? Yeah, I think like as you're like trying to take in everything that's going on, there's like just the flash of a quick vision, just like strange disconnected images for a moment, but you see blood spattering the ground under the torches of the festival. You see weapons raised in the air. It's a confused vision, but it gives you the sense of something terrible happening at the festival. Awesome. What do you do?
I think there is a moment of stunned silence after this new and amazing information has come out of Gwyn. Yeah. You had me at Lord of Death, at skeleton, ancient skeleton. Barrow, I think after a bit of recovery, seeing his friend disappear into the distant darkness, Barrow goes to try and stop and yells, "No, stop, please, I can." And then these visions flash, and and another moment of silence, and runs, I guess, in the opposite direction, towards the village, towards the sounds and the smells of the festival.
Oh man. Okay. All right. We'll cut away for a moment from that. Ruga, you've been trying to recover from the ordeal you've been through. Are you like allowed to join in the dance, or has your mother tried to keep you from doing so?
I think she's allowed to be there, but she can't really do the extended dance stuff. So she's kind of wallflowered a little bit.
Mm.
Like she, physically she can't do the extended dance numbers. Like she can't do any of the longer line dances at the beginning. And energy wise, she hasn't recovered enough to really throw in with the high energy dancing towards the end. So she's pretty much stuck along the edges, and is, she would never use this term, but she's basically pouting about it. She would say she's just mad, but it's really sort of that sort of like mid teenager pout, and she sort of trounce back and forth. She still kind of limps a little, like one of her legs is still a little stiff, and it gets stiffer as the night goes on. So she has to sit down a lot more than she would normally want to.
Mm-hmm.
So she's sort of clomping around from one edge to the other, and occasionally like sits down at a table and like has like some of the sweetmeats and stuff like that, and
So while you're pouting and clomping, next to you appears let's see, Gerald, the apprentice blacksmith, right? Who's perhaps not as cut out for blacksmithing as you are. At least Ruga sometimes thinks so. He's like, "Hey, Ruga, they said they've been telling all these stories about your spear doing something really, really strange down at the lake. What's all that about?"
And I think she kind of, while she doesn't normally like talking to Gerald, I think she takes this as a opening to just sort of do something to distract herself from watching everybody else have fun dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts to basically kind of go into the spear and the magic that happened, and said, the spear, that spearhead is like a family heirloom. Like my mom had it forever, and her, before that, her dad had it, and before that, her grandmother had it. Like, and she sort of goes, and she's back, and they always said it had power, and it didn't seem to want to do anything until that thing almost ate me. But I'm kind of glad it decided to work at that point.
He's nodding along. He's like, "Do you think you could make it do it again?"
I'm not sure I want to put myself in a position to make it do it again. So I said it never did anything magical before the point where I was about to be eaten by that monster. And she points at the skull, with the giant fangs sort of like hanging down like forearm length. That thing almost ate me before the spear did anything. So,
and it's probably just the wind, but the skull almost seems to shift a little bit, like it's turning towards you up on that the stake that they've got it balanced up on there.
Yeah, she struggles to not display how utterly creepy that is to her, and she's pretty
Are
sure
you
she pulls it off.
are you
Like she's,
standing fast against your fear?
I think she is. Yes,
Because that is a move in this game.
no, she is. She's really having to because I mean, that thing still kind of creeps her out. Like that was that. I mean, is as much as she would never admit it. That was the closest she's ever come to actually dying, and that's a pretty horrific way to almost die. So, I think she's. I think she's. I think she's. I think she's kind of. This hits her. I think harder, and I think she's kind of. She's kind of really having to push back on her emotions to sort of get a hold of herself.
Go ahead and roll plus courage.
Okay, let me see what my courage was. I'm pretty sure. Yep, that's 2. Okay, so let me go to the dice roller, which I did not pull up earlier.
Oh, I
had forgotten to do that. Okay, I've got it.
Give us the link here. Oh, I gave us a link twice, or I guess that's useless actually because it just messes up the link. There we go. There's the link. Yeah, the the torchlight gleams off of the red paint and the the strange symbols the villagers have daubed onto this skull trophy.
Okay, I rolled a 7 on the dice plus 2 from courage gives me a 9.
All right, so a 7 and 9 hit, you barely hold it together. Choose what you lose. There's a list of options here, but you can also choose something else, right? But you lose something, whether it's their respect, your footing, your composure, an important item, your train of thought, the advantage, precious time, etc.
Let's see. I think it's. I think she kind of loses her composure a little bit. I think she laughs at maybe sort of a half joke that she just said. Like normally, like her laughs are pretty blustery and like deep. Like she's normally doesn't have a problem with laughing at things. Like that's not a big issue. But this comes off as obviously forced. Like it's a little too high pitched.
Nice. Yeah. So this kind of like clearly nervous laughter. As what you like take like one involuntary step away from the skull, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe scoots her chair kind of back away to the other side of the table from the skull, and as she tries to continue kind of the story, and maybe she's leaning into some other story about the spear because she doesn't necessarily want to talk about the beast anymore right now because she's a little bit shaken up. And so she leans into like some other older stories about the spear that she'd heard from her family before.
Nice. So like as you have this kind of nervous laugh and this scooting away, right? Like Gerald looks around in confusion, and then catches sight of someone new walking up to the dance floor, and like he lets out a low whistle, and he says, "Wow, she looks just like her sister." Because Luned, I think this is about when your mother has kind of like pushed you towards the dance floor in your new dress and your brooch, and you are acutely conscious of a number of eyes turning towards you. What do you do? You're muted.
I'm definitely nervous, but I think I am trying to stay in full Pendry mode. So I'm, very carefully putting my shoulders back and my chin up and trying to look, calm and like the daughter of an important woman as I approach the dance floor, not precisely making eye contact with anyone, which is probably going to be a problem in like 10 seconds when I don't have somebody to dance with.
Well, someone presents himself actually. Suddenly stepping in front of you is this blonde young man from the other village who makes an elaborate bow like more elaborate than any bows you've seen in Sindel. It's like they have like fancier bows where he comes from, right? And he says, "May I have the honor of this dance?"
And I say, yes, of course.
He smiles.
Remembering my idea that possibly I could find out something from these strangers who come to town about possibly the yew tree and what it might have to do with my sister.
Absolutely, yeah. So he smiles. He says, "I'm Mal, by the way, and you must be Luned. I've heard so much
Yes.
about you."
Really? From whom?
And he like stumbles for just a second, but then he's like, my parents were talking to your parents, I think."
I was hoping that you might have known my sister when she came there to your town briefly.
I saw the wedding. It was a beautiful ceremony. He's kind of nodding and clearly trying to talk around the like sad part of this story.
I'm so curious about what the wedding ceremonies are like in your town. Which trees do you invoke?
That's a great question, Lid. I'm gonna ask you to make a roll here. Does that sound legit? Because
Yes, that does sound legit.
You're clearly interested in some important information. So this might be taking their measure. If
Let's see.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I think that's probably about right because I mean, I'm definitely sizing him up as well as trying to get information out of him.
yeah, you're pumping someone for information while also hoping to get a sense of what his deal is.
Okay, so that's plus caution, which is 0, so it's just a natural roll. That is 7.
Okay, so 7 is a hit. You get to ask
Ooh.
one question from the take their measure list. So you are a keen judge of character. You're gonna learn something about him, and I'll throw in like what he actually says to your questions too.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to go with what are they afraid of?
Yeah, that's a good question. Mal clearly very very polished. Clearly he's learned the steps of this dance and learned all of the polite phrases to use. But you get a sense there's anxiety underneath that he's very afraid of failing to represent his village well. He's afraid of the consequences of not being a good delegate for the village of Onden. And as you're taking that in, right, making that kind of correct assessment, he's also trying to fill you in about the traditions of his village. And he's like, oh well, there was a consecration to all of the great trees, of course, and he like rattles off a list of great trees, and ends with and the yew, of course, and we'll say that the oak was missing from this list, but the yew was included on this list. So there's clearly different tree traditions in these villages, but most notable to you is the consecration to the yew.
Okay, and I say, oh, that's fascinating. You know, I've never heard anybody talk about the yew tree before in my village. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, he's and is this is during the dance? Yes, like you are
Right.
you are indeed engaged in the dance. So there's like
I am multitasking.
yeah, absolutely. There's like a moment where like partners split and like go round this this line of people and then rejoin at the end. I'm thinking line dancing Jane Austen scenes here, right? So like you're split for a moment and he comes back and he says, you what do you mean you never heard of the yew, of the consecration to the yew tree?
Nobody talks about it ever. I suppose we must worship the oak in the steadfast oak. Am I saying that right? Yeah, the steadfast oak instead.
But the oak tree brings nothing but pain and disorder.
No, but we always have a consecration to the oak at a wedding because it's the steadfast oak. It's the tree of faithfulness, so that the marriage will last. What do you call on the yew tree for?
The yew tree helps the dead to rest quietly. You don't know this?
No, nobody ever talks about the yew tree.
You're saying this, you're trying to have this as a private conversation, right? But like there's a moment where you definitely see like some of the grown-ups like turning, like they heard like they heard you say something about the yew tree, and there's like some whispers spreading through the dance. Ruga, even from where you're seated, you may see that people are like staring a little bit at Luned and her partner from the other town. Let me check back in. What are you doing? Anything?
I think she starts to pay a little more attention. Like she was her conversation with Gerald had sort of petered off as he's been staring creepily at Luned. And of course, she turned to see like what he was staring at and whistling about, and she's been paying attention to the dance, and remembering that she doesn't get to get out there and dance because she's still recovering and is a little grumpy about that. But then she starts to sort of hear some of the murmuring, like as the dance sort of passes, because it's not that big of a dance area, so like the dancers have to pass by where she is as part of the line and the circle back and forth. And so she hears like snippets of this stuff. Oak, but the oak is blah blah blah, and the yew, how can you not know about the? And she's like, this is probably going to end badly.
Are you using your bodyguard, or sorry, your guardian move?
Yes, I think I am. She gets to ask some questions here, so let me go back to that question list.
It's free questions. You don't even need to make a roll. But
I think I have to pick one of them. So
yeah,
that's where it gets tricky. That's where the tricky part is. Be great if it let me ask all of them. That would be super awesome, but not so much. I want to ask, what here could I use as a weapon to break up this really awkward conversation?
So not necessarily a literal weapon.
Right. Just a wedge, a conversational, a social weapon.
Sure. Barrow has just arrived back near the dance floor. You could just grab him and like push him over to cut in and break up that conversation.
Ooh, that would be hilarious and awesome, and I will do that. So Bear, and I don't think Ruga even says anything, but just like grabs Barrow by like the scruff of his shirt, and like suddenly pulls him onto the dance floor. It's like, come on, we need to break this up.
Oh yeah. You look awesome. Yeah. Let's go.
And as she's sort of pulling him over there, and sort of really muscling her way into this dance line. She like glances over her shoulder at that remark about how she looks, and she's like, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. And she leans in and says, "Listen, we've got to get Luned and that kid from the other village apart. They're about to start like some sort of tree war here over the yew and the oak."
My vision's coming true.
You're what?
Yeah, don't worry. Hey, when the delegation arrived, we were there. Do you remember if they had any swords or I don't know, pikes? Did they seem to be armed when they showed up?
I'll give you this one for free. Ruga definitely keeps an eye out for weapons. The delegation had a number of fancy-looking ceremonial swords. Like it looked like they're the kind of things that probably could help protect them on the road, but were also part of their role as delegates was to have these ceremonial weapons around.
Now, are they like ceremonial, like small enough to where they're not awkward to carry, not really heavy enough to be like serious weapons of war, but just good enough to maybe ward off someone from stealing your purse, kind of thing?
I'm thinking like rapier-like, right? Like they're at their side. They've got like fancy filigreed handles, but like they probably are things you could use like you use a sword.
And she relays that information. They have those fancy gilded swords. They look like really long needles, but like you can see them. Let's see, they've got sort of that filigree and a little bit of gilding. I'm not sure if that's real gold. Probably not, because you can get the same effect with much cheaper metal.
Okay. We'll talk about that later. I need to stop a conversation.
Right. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut in with Out of Town Kid, and you're going to cut in with Luned and spin off in different directions and try to keep them from starting from talking directly about the tree so much.
Yes,
this is great. So like I think as we cut away from the dance scene, we're seeing Ruga Ruga like using Barrow to break up this other dance and repair off these couples. And just for a little button, before we go to our first break, I want to cut to Gwyn. Gwyn, you were just kind of charging off into the darkness, away from the village. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Suddenly, a lantern kind of comes up unexpectedly from behind a rock, and holding it is Luned's younger sister Gwyn, who says, "Oh, good. You're ready to go to the ruins?"
What were you doing out here?
I was waiting for you. Obviously. You're going to help me talk to Rosalind.
Yeah, I suppose now's as good a time as any.
And she nods, satisfied, and starts heading off towards the old ruins at the edge of town. Let's take a 10-minute break and be back here at I guess 27 past the hour.
Okay.
See you all soon. How's everybody doing? This is good. It's good. We're having the awkward high school dance in the middle of our fantasy RPG. It's definitely in keeping with the coming of age themes, I think. Everybody ready to jump back in? I'm gonna start with Gwyn as we come back in. So Gwyn, you're going along with going to the old ruins.
Yeah, as terrible an idea as it is, I think Gwyn is still a little rattled and doesn't want to risk the potential of being ratted out to the village, especially not on tonight of all nights.
Yeah, not on tonight. You hear the music, right, of the festival, kind of snatches of it drifting to you at the outskirts of town, and it's clearly like turning from some of the darker, more somber music to some of the more up tempo music, signaling that the sorceress effigies are going to be lit, momentarily.
Excellent.
Gorin turns back and says, "Keep up, you."
Yeah, and I think Gwyn will kind of give one last look back at the light of the village, and then trudge after her in the snow.
Yeah, still snow on the ground. It's midwinter here. Wow, now that I've got real snow, I'm like less excited about just describing all the wet, cold snow going on in Sindel, but it's definitely there. Yeah, and in the what is kind of just oddly unearthly about these ruins that we, as we know, the adults of the town tell you young people not to go exploring.
Yeah, I think that there's maybe they're obviously kind of they're currently covered in snow, or at least dusted with snow, if not fully covered. Lots of low-lying broken stone walls and the like, but I think there's that odd sense where and it's that sort of thing where it might be heightened by the snow everywhere and the fact that we do have a lantern with us, but there's that, it's like just that slightly brighter here than it should be. There's a bit of a nothing as overt as like glowing, but it's got that just that sort of slightly, everything here seems slightly both like slightly brighter and slightly more like defined shadows and stuff than you'd expect given the otherwise lack of ambient light.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of almost highlighted in this strange light is the single yew tree growing out of the ruins that you've never noticed before, but is clearly there. And Gwyn says, "Okay." And like for a moment, the steeliness, right? The way she was channeling her mother drops a moment, and you see that's a 12-year-old girl who's come here on a difficult journey, but she gathers herself again. She says, "All right, open up the door. We're gonna go see Rosalind."
I've never taken anyone through with me before. I think I can, but I could just go through and bring back a message for you.
I need to talk to her.
Very well. And I think that sort of take in a deep breath and look look around, and I think he'll probably start towards the yew tree and sort of put his hands on it. And I think I'd like to activate Doorkeeper here. And yeah, I think I will ask what is happening near here in Death.
Great question. Let's see. That's your, yeah, absolutely. There are a number of spirits on the move. Like you get the sense of both, the like calling of someone lost, and another sort of calling, like the calling of someone sounding the trumpet for war.
Cool. I think yeah, he's going to turn back to Gwyn and say, there is something dangerous on the other side here. I know your sister is important to you, but if we step through, we may both of us be lost. Are you really sure this is what you want?
Nice. Do you think you're making a move here, or do you think this is like should we just play this out based on the conversation?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a.
I guess.
I think
trying to take her measure.
Yeah, no, go on. Well, I'll go for that. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's so that's a roll plus caution, cool. Where you potentially get to ask some questions about what's going on here.
That's a 7 on the dice, and I think my caution is a 0. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's a 7 in total.
One of the questions from below: Are they interested in me? If so, why? What burdens do they bear? What about them isn't what it appears to be? What are they afraid of? Can they be trusted? What do they lack?
Ooh, a couple of those are quite tempting. I think, though, I'm going to go for. Yeah, I think I'm going to go actually for what burdens do they bear? Yeah, I think that's what I want to know. I want to know what's driving them to do this.
Yeah, I think she's just going to say it out loud, right? Is that like, as you look at her, kind of like wipes away a rebellious tear welling at the corner of her eye, and she's like, I had a fight with Rosalind right before she left. I told her that I hated her, but that isn't true. I'm worried she's stuck until I tell her the truth.
And I think Gwyn is going to very, very gingerly sort of reach out and put a hand on her shoulder and say, your sister knew how you really felt about her. If she is trapped here, it's not because of you or anything you said or did.
You're opening up and offering someone comfort, I think.
I certainly am. Whether I'm doing so successfully, we'll see.
Because you have a -1.
That answers that question quite conclusively. That is a 1.
Oh, you rolled snake eyes, huh? Got it. So there's a gust of chill wind behind you, as snow is kind of blown into the air, and kind of Gwyn looks away from you, kind of like turning away, like he's rejecting what you're saying, and then she looks past you, like she's seeing something, and there's a light suddenly, so not the like strange half light of the snow and the stars, but a harsh blue light beaming from the yew tree, and as it catches her eyes, they go weirdly blank, and then she turns and starts racing back towards the village. Gwyn, what do you do?
I'm going to call out, go and wait, stop. And I think he's going to no, I think first actually he is going to turn back to the yew tree, and I'm just seeing
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like openly kind of shimmering with this clearly supernatural light, right? Like you're the only witness here, but like there's no like mundane explanation for the moment that's unfolding.
Yep. I don't. I'm just trying to think. No, I think he is just going to chase after Gwyn. I think rather than trying to mess around with this tree, I think he's just going to try and stop Gwyn, or at least catch up to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's cut back to the dance floor. Barrow, you were kind of shoved at Luned, and ended up sort of probably awkwardly cutting in to the dance that she was in the midst of. Does that sound right? Luned, what's your reaction as suddenly you've been handed Barrow here?
I go, Barrow, I was just talking to him. You have to let me go back to him. His people, they worship the great yew.
No.
And it's supposed to help the dead rest. I bet that's why my sister isn't at peace somehow. Our people, our village has forgotten how to make sure the dead rest in peace. We have to find out from him what to do for her. And I'm still dancing with him, but I'm kind of like tugging a little.
Like you're gonna drag him off the dance floor?
Yeah, like trying to dance in the direction of Mal and Ruga. Nice.
Just dancing at them. Yeah. Barrow, what do you do? What do you say?
That's there's a lot happening. I need that's news. That makes sense. We need to do something. I think that you know what would be helpful is if everyone here had swords. That's not a good idea. Everyone's been drinking.
Yeah, and of course, like Gwyn's dad has like rolled out the big barrels from the inn, and there's people decanting ale and such from them, and toasting the the end of the long night and the return of the sun.
Oh.
You know what, Barrow? You should talk to him too, since you know about these things. If you two talked, I'm sure we could figure it out. We need to get off the dance floor.
Yes, I am not good at this. You're really good at this, I think. I can't tell, but I think you're really good at this.
My mother made me practice a lot, but thank you.
Yeah. Also, great dress. Great.
So I let go of Barrow and I just turn around in the middle of the dance for where Mal and Ruga
Nice. So just completely disregarding the steps of the dance at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. Just ready to push on ahead. Nice. We'll see that in a moment. Barrow, it sounds like you're like feeling at least a little worried about the overall situation. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I wonder if this is a good time to use something called a move called common sense, not just
a little move called common sense,
which is whenever you have a moment of safety to consider the true nature of things, you can ask the GM a question from below and get an honest answer.
Oh yeah, please go for it.
So I think Barrow is looking around the festival, watching everyone go about their business, happy and cheerful. And I think
mostly cheerful.
Mostly cheerful. Oh, right. And I'm going to ask you who could help me with averting disaster. I think Barrow believes that outsiders are not to be trusted, and these ones are, I think, maybe have brought their weapons to the dance for some reason and are planning on doing harm. So who could Barrow trust to help avert that? Is that too general a question?
No, that will work, I think. Yeah, I think you see your grandfather, just clearly having the time of his life on the dance floor, and you figure if anyone can, keep things peaceful here, it's got to be him.
I think Barrow makes his way over, trying to avoid people who are dancing like a little more, having a good time dancing, and he approaches his granddad and says, "Granddad, I think it was the senior delegate who told me they really wanted to hear your longest joke. The one about the shaggy dog. They're right over there. You should take them aside and let them know the longest joke."
Is the idea that he'll take this at face value, or are you like trying to signal to him, we need some sort of distraction to make sure there's no no untoward happenings at the dance?
We'll say this is a signal. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Go ahead and seek adult help if you don't mind.
Okay. Let me see here. Seek adult help. is when you. Oh no, I'm pretty sure this is not going to go well. Roll plus honesty.
Yeah, that's a roll plus honesty.
Oh, all right, promising. We have an 8, and my honesty is -1, so 7.
Still a hit.
Yeah.
Still a hit. Yeah. Let's see. On a 10 plus, they see that you're genuine and pick one. On a 7 9, they can pick one from above or else. Okay, so he could either give you what you ask, reveal what's stopping him, or help, but only grudgingly. You know what? You and your grandfather seem to be on a similar wavelength, right? Like we've established that he's taken you under his wing to some extent. So I think like as you're saying this thing that could be either just an awkward intervention or a slightly veiled request for help, he takes the hint. He like taps his nose and says, "Very well, Barrow. The tale of the shaggiest dog for the longest night." And he like just starts he starts into it like at full volume and like like kind of like gestures with both arms to try and draw a couple people over to hear him delivering this. And you see some of the venerable older people from the delegation from the other town are kind of like swept up in his wake here. That work for you?
That's great. I love it. Thank you.
Perfect. Ruga, let me check over on you. You had whisked away this young man that Luned was dancing with, and he kind of like as like quickly as he can, since you're given the speed that you've cut in, he tries to do his very fancy bow again and says, "I don't think I've had the honor. Who are you?"
And Ruga sort of looks around and makes sure that Barrow has sort of gotten looted far enough away, and Ruga, like she turns back to him and says, "Oh, Ruga, I had noticed you come in with your friends, and you seem to be a pretty good dancer."
Thank you. My name is Mal. And he's he's kind of like just launching into a little honestly it's like a family history in miniature, which you kind of get the impression is just how people introduce themselves over in this other village. As he's talking about how his family have been important merchants in Ondin for 3 generations back, right? And he kind of like stops short as you're like slightly further away from the other dancers, and kind of like says like a little more incredulously, "Luned was just telling me you don't worship the great yew tree here. Is this true? Was that just a joke, right?
And she looks over and said, she makes sure that Luned is currently out of earshot, and she like pulls him sort of away from the dance floor and sort of out of this zone, and said, "Look, you we don't. It's tradition. We don't talk about the trees out there." Luned was just. I think Luned was just really nervous and was trying to make conversation. Like you. Maybe she was a little starstruck by you, I guess. But no, that's just, you don't talk about we don't talk about the trees during the dance. It's a tradition. Like we don't get into that sort of thing. We're supposed to just dance. Like I said, she must have just been really just sort of out of sorts. Is that gold filigree on that on your sword?
He'll nod at that. I am really curious to see if this could possibly be a move. This interference you're running here.
I'm trying to think of what it as to what it might be.
You have a move called Call Out, which we haven't seen in action yet.
Am I calling him? Am I calling him out or? Let me think about that.
If you are, it's for slightly spurious reasons, but there's nothing about the move that says you can't kind of invoke it in defense of a made up tradition, right?
Yeah,
I'm open to that if you're up for it, right? But we can also look at what else might be on the table.
I'm not. I'm not sure she's calling him out. It feels more like she's basically just trying to sort of bulldoze him by sort of talking over him. She's not necessarily calling him out. I'm trying to think of something else that might.
Let's call that a stand fast then. All right.
Okay.
Because Luned, you got a thought.
Oh, I was just going to wonder if we could say this was bodyguard in like a verbal sense. Like, there's no physical danger, but she's definitely like throwing herself.
That's true.
In front of
this. It's a metaphorical bodyguard. When you put your body between someone in immediate danger, roll plus courage.
If Barrow was a metaphorical weapon to break up the dance, then I think metaphorical bodyguard works.
Who says the Blade playbook can't work during a social dance floor encounter? I'm sold on this. Chris, how does that sound to you?
That works great. Let me page up to where my bodyguard move is. Okay.
We'll say this whole like running interference and trying to like kind of bulldoze over Mal's confusion about the trees. It's all part of this bodyguard move. So the hit will determine some of the consequences here.
Okay, let's see how this goes. I have courage of 2, so that's positive.
Yeah, you got some courage.
So that's a total of 9, 7 on the dice, plus 2 from courage.
Perfect.
So
on any hit, your body is their shield, and you will suffer the consequences or the danger in their place. So I think Mal kind of like nods gravely at what you've said. And says, "Thank you. I see my lessons in the manners of your town were incomplete. You have saved me from perhaps calamitous social ruin here. Please, you must take this as a token of my gratitude." And he unfastens his like brooch and like presses it into your hands.
Sure. Well, she's sort of casually, just almost as a matter of unconscious action, is sort of appraising the brooch. Like what is it? Is it like silver? Is it copper? What kind of brooch is this?
We'll say it's a like, if not gold, at least gilded filigree, like the fancy swords that the delegation have.
I think she looks at her eyes, sort of like sort of widen a bit, and says, "Oh, whoa, no! I can't take this. This has got to be some sort of some sort of keepsake or something. I mean, and
he does the fancy bow again and says, "I insist."
And she looks like really awkward. Like this is maybe the first time anybody has gifted her something like this, like shiny and pretty. Like she's got her nice warm mittens that were knitted by a friend. Mm-hmm. But I think she's pale enough to where I think it really looks awkward as she blushes.
Yeah, it matches her hair.
Yeah, way too. Yeah, only the fact that everybody looks a little ruddy in the firelight, kind of, from this, sort of saves her some more serious embarrassment. I think if this was daylight, like literally everybody in this entire place could probably see her blushing.
Luned, you were like making a beeline over here. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we'll say you're arriving roundabout now, possibly just in time to see like Ruga blushing as she's been given this brooch.
Okay, I'm trying to think what my angle
Yeah, what do you
is
do?
is going to be.
You have no idea, what Luned has just said about the trees. I think because she was specifically trying to say that while you were out of earshot.
I'm like, I bear down on them, and I see this, like, from the outside, kind of romantic looking exchange going on. And I grab Mal by the arm and I say, "Oh, you like Ruga? That's wonderful. You need to come with me so that I can tell you about the proper way to court a girl here. Barrow's coming with us too to tell you the man's side of things. It's very important that you know this stuff." And I start dragging him.
His eyes are like super wide, but he is like nodding about this. So you just have like grabbed him and you're pulling him away.
Yeah, and I'm also like waving at Barrow to follow us.
Perfect. Yeah, as you're doing this, a girl with blonde hair like his, almost certainly his sister, like grabs at him and says, "Mal, where are you going? Father said to stay in the dance." Mal looks back and forth. Luned, my sister, Katrin, and you said your name was Barrow. Like he's like trying to track all the people that are here now.
Oh, you're his sister. You should come with us too.
She looks very skeptical about this. She says, "But they're about to light the bonfires. We don't want to miss that."
Oh, but it's actually a better view from a little farther away because you can see them all together. I know the best spot for looking at it since we do this every year.
Nice. Luned, is there a move you're triggering here, or you're just
probably
you're trying to talk your way through this?
I mean, now that there are two people, can I call this a public speaker move?
When you address a crowd of people, interesting. Yeah, we'll say that like clearly these two are the like focal people of the younger crowd of delegates from the other village. So we'll say there's like 3 or 4 others that are like watching this interaction with interest and like added up to a crowd. Does that work for you?
Sure. Yes.
Nice. So it seems like you are trying to convince these young people of Ondon to like abandon the dance floor and follow you elsewhere with the promise of better views of the bonfire.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Go ahead and roll plus honesty when you
cannot end well. Oh, okay. That was a natural 11.
And your honesty is 2, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a 13. You can on any hit they listen to your words. The Chronicle will tell you how many do so based on their sympathies, instincts, and self-interest. They're all listening in. They want to know what's going on in this strange new town they've come to for this strange festival. They're all excited about and a little scared of. So they're listening to you. Tell me what you do with that. You get to pick 2 options from the public speaker list.
Ooh. Let's see. I guess it's mostly propose a course of action to them, as well as rouse them to intense emotion. As I read, like, I've been very, very, like, laser focused on just Mal for most of this interaction, but after his sister butts in, I notice that the other young delegates are kind of listening, and I realize that the whole courtship talk is not a viable strategy anymore. So that's why I shift to the better views of the bonfire lighting. And so I start describing that, you know, and this is true, that sometimes my friends and I have watched the bonfire lighting from up on a rooftop, and it's, you know, like the view from above of all the effigies spread out below you and catching on fire is very, very, you know, cool and exciting. And, you know, if you're only going to see this once, you know, you should have the best view.
That's great. Yeah. So you're trying to get them. You're like, the emotion is excitement and anticipation, and the course of action is go up on a roof.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, this whole crowd is excited to follow you, and swept up in the emotion, and kind of the, like, you know, only one, you know, who seems skeptical is Mal's sister Katrin, who's kind of who's kind of like, you know, staring at you like, what is what is this girl doing? You know, why is everyone listening to her, right? So like as you're able to, like, you know, as like other people are kind of like excitedly, you know, kind of streaming off of the dance floor headed towards, is there a particular house a particular rooftop you're highlighting for them?
Let's see. I think I'm just trying to remember, like, anything that we said about the layout of the village. I think my house is pretty close to like
The center of town.
the center of town, and like the inn, right?
Yeah, sure. Your house is nearby, and we remember people climbing up the plant life on the outside of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I take us to my house, and it's sounds like there's a actually fairly sizable contingent. So I actually tell some of them to go to the inn, which is also a fairly climbable structure and, you know, close to the center. So there's I'm like, you know, we don't want to be all crowded because that spoils the fun. So some of you go over to the inn, and I'll take some people over to my house. And
Barrow, you're sticking with Luned because that was some part of the whole point of the plan.
And
yeah. All right, just checking.
Has Ruga gotten swept along in this?
That's a question for Ruga. Ruga, what do you think?
I think I think she's still sort of flabbergasted and was blushing so furiously at that courtship business that I think she's sort of like shrunk back a little bit.
Yeah.
Like sort of, you know, wallflowered back up, like sort of like as this sort of wave of people sort of started to follow. I think that Ruga is just like, oh, move back this way a little. Like it's one thing to fight a monster. It's another thing to deal with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I use my control of the crowd in order to make sure that Barrow and Mal and his sister and I all end up sitting together on my roof. And there may be a couple other young people up there, but there are a couple chimneys between us. They're not right next to us, so we have a little bit of privacy.
Yeah, absolutely. As you get up there, the first of the sorceress effigies starts going up in flames, right? So the whole town is lit with this strange light, right? Like it's nothing like daylight, but it's so much brighter than you usually get with just simple torches and campfires outside at nighttime. Gwyn, you were heading back towards the dance floor in chase of Gwyn, yes?
That's correct. Yep.
She's like she's kind of racing like a fiend, towards the dance floor, and like you see her like just casually grab one of those fancy swords that one of the delegates had set to the side because they'd had a little too much to drink and we're not feeling up for dancing with their sword anymore. So she's just grabbed it and is walking towards the effigies. Gwyn, do you do anything? Do you say anything? What do you do?
Yeah, so I think Gwyn is still going to continue with his original plan, such as it was, and attempt to intercept Gwyn. He's probably going to just try and grab her by the wrist, it's called Gwyn. Are you okay?
Yeah, and she so you grab her wrist. She's like yanked to a standstill for a moment, and her voice seems to be coming from far away as she says, "Terrible things are coming. I have to stop him."
Stop who?
And she points the sword at the skull of the beast, where it's kind of now somehow it looks like it's grinning, right? Must be a trick of the firelight, right? But the skull of the beast up on the stake seems happy, and the music all around, of course, is getting into its rowdier, more energetic mode. But there's just instead of being like purely celebratory, there's a martial edge to the music that's unexpected, right? Like a drum line underneath, and just something intense in a different way, in the way people are dancing to the music and beginning to cast their torches at the straw at the feet of these effigies to start lighting them, setting them aflame.
Yeah, and I think it's going to say, okay, don't worry, Gwyn. I think I can do something about this, but I need to know you're safe, and it's probably best you don't have that sword.
So are you trying to confiscate the sword from her?
I don't think he's going to try and physically take it off her at the moment, but he is probably going to put a hand on the blade and suggest that she give it to him, as opposed as how to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless there's a different move you're thinking of, I might call for a stand fast here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
Well,
Go
it
ahead and
sounds like it's destined for failure, but we'll see.
roll plus courage, and we will see.
That's a 5.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Um, uh, so she says, "Don't worry, Gwyn is safe. I'm taking care of things." Again, in that faraway voice, and like pushes you aside, stronger than a 12-year-old girl should probably be. Takes a running leap, swinging the sword overhand at the skull, and as it connects, all of the lights go out. Let's take just a 5-minute break and then be back for a conclusion. Oh, Gwyn, mark where your your night's not going well. Yeah, let's take 5 and be back at 20 past the hour. Hey, welcome back. How's everybody doing?
Good.
All right. And things get a little intense, but it is the finale. Folks, all right to jump back in?
Yeah.
I want to pick up with the group on the roof then. Barrow, Luned, you two are up on top of the family home, the Pendry family home, and you have Mal and Katrin with you there. Maybe some other youth of Ondon, but they're a little further away, so it's mostly the four of you we're focused on. And we're stepping back just a little bit in time, so you see the first of the great bonfire effigies going up, and Mal says, "Wow, you were right. It's a much better view from up here. Listen, the brooch that was just a gesture of gratitude. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, it was. I was told it was polite to offer gifts to those who were helpful, but it and like his sister like elbows him hard in the ribs to tell him to stop trying to explain himself. Barrow, what's your take on all this? You kind of have been hustled along with Luned, and you've ended up on the top of a roof with these outsiders from the other town.
Yeah, I think Barrow thinks this is all part of the plan. We, in the event that anything happens in the square, we have the children of the delegates as a bargaining chip.
Yeah, so you're like,
that's the plan, right?
Wow. Okay. Fascinating. Yeah. So so Katrin, right? The sister kind of looks over her brother's head at you and does a eye roll, right? Can you believe these two? Is the subtext. What do you do?
I think this is pretty awkward. I think Barrow nods and he says, so do you like birds?
She's like, yeah, birds. Birds are nice.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend about birds earlier, and I like to watch birds, and I thought he liked to watch birds also, but he told me that he has seen birds that are way different than the birds I've seen. And I think I ruined things by I think I messed up real bad, because when he told me about the birds, I was kind of scared, and I didn't know what to do, and I think he saw that, and he ran away. So so the happy midwinter.
Are you opening up?
I guess so.
It sounded like you might be.
Yes, I don't know if that doesn't make a lot of sense with I think Barrow needs to open up about this to someone.
Yep, and there's just someone here.
Yep. Great.
Go ahead and roll plus honesty.
Roll plus honesty.
As she nods slowly, as she says, "So birds, huh?"
Yeah. And that is a 6 minus honesty is a 1. All right.
So it's a 5.
It is a 5, yes, sir.
Okay, you are left awkward and exposed. Say what you do to feel less vulnerable, then mark where.
Sweet.
I'm so sorry, Barrow.
No, I love it. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go try to find him. Yeah. Luna, are you okay up here with these two? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, Rosamund, we're not hearing you.
Sorry. So I want to rewind about 10 seconds to when Mal was saying his piece about how he's not courting Ruga.
Ruga, yes.
And I say, that's totally fine. To be honest, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have jump to assumptions. Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't jump to an assumption. I just really, really wanted to speak with you privately, and everyone was right there. But Barrow and I
probably this is. Oh, yeah. Go finish your thought. Yeah.
That's a perfectly good time for Barrow to interrupt with his question, I think. Actually.
Yeah, that's great. Because I was going to say that's as you're like talking about privacy, Barrow's like, I'm going to go.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, and Barrow is out down the trellis or through the window, whichever way we got up here.
And I go, Barrow, wait. Oh, well, so I need to talk to you about. I just turn back to Mal, laser focused. So I need to talk to you about the yew tree because my sister, who died in your village, but we had a funeral for her, but we didn't invoke the yew tree because, like I told you, we don't do that here. But I don't think her soul is at rest, and I need to know how to fix it and how to give her peace.
So, like, Mel and Katrin have like identical like shocked expressions. This is like clearly not where they thought drag people up to the roof thing was going. Am I just going to keep telling people to open up? Maybe I will, because
I think this is opening up. Yeah,
it's opening up. That's the thing. Go ahead and roll. We'll roll plus honesty. See how this goes.
Oof. So that was a natural 5.
Your honesty is 2, I think, right?
I am scrolling. Yes, my honesty is 2.
So in fact, it's a hit. Thanks to your stat there, right? Like,
yay.
On any hit, there is solace in your closeness. You share strength with one another, and both unmark one wear. So, like, this is actually going to go well. I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. So I think like Mal kind of like lets a like slow exhale, and it's like, wow, that's a lot. But maybe the trees wanted us to come here so that we could work together and make sure Rosalind's soul is at peace.
Yes, that must be it. It must be the will of the trees to do this.
And he nods and like looks at Katrin, and Katrin's like, don't look at me. I was just talking to this weird kid about birds. But like, he says, all right, listen, I don't remember all the words, but I think I know at least half of the invocation of the yew tree, that's got to count for something, right?
Yes. I'm trying to think if we even have any yew trees around here, because it makes sense that we should go to a yew tree.
Captain's like, oh, there was one at that ruin we passed on the way in.
Perfect. Let's get some torches and go to the ruin.
And at that point, all of the torches go out as everything's plunged into darkness. So down on the dance floor, Ruga, you had kind of like sunken back after unexpectedly being given this brooch.
Yes, and I think as she's like shrinking back, maybe she happened to glimpse like go and walk over and basically just pick up one of these shiny fancy swords.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "What is she doing?" And then she saw Gwyn
grab her. Doesn't work.
and then she leaps and like I think Ruga's eyes kind of widen as the leap and strike sort of happens. She's not anywhere close enough to interfere, but like she's like, "What?" And then
lights go out. For a moment, there's silence, and then there's sounds of confusion. Right? People asking what's going on, and the confusion starts rising into anger. There are voices raised and like accusations crackling in the air. Ruga.
As the accusations start, I think this is the time when Ruga is going to try and call out, like the adults that are starting to make drunken, belligerent noises, because that's what this sounds like is happening, right?
Sure. I mean, I think you hear like Rodri, who's usually pretty easygoing, is saying, I could tell since you got here that you weren't grateful for everything we were doing to welcome you, and now one of yours has sabotaged the festival, right? And like so like there's some anger in the air. Ruga, you wanted to step in?
Yep, I think Ruga basically yells, "Stop being stupid and light some torches so we can see what happened."
So let's take a look at the move. When you challenge someone's actions, say if it's their honor or their sense you doubt, then roll plus courage. It sounds like it is their sense that you doubt.
Yes. And let's see, let me roll the dice. That's a 5 plus my courage of 2 to give me a 7.
Right. On a 7 to 9 hit, they hear your words but have their doubts. They'll make excuses, give justifications, pass off responsibility, or try to divert you unless one of your companions backs you up. That's great. So like as you step in to say this, Rodri kind of like says like, well, just he blusters a bit. He's like, listen, Ruga, you still need to rest. Stay out of this. All right, I hear you. We'll light some torches, but just get the other young people away. There's something we need to deal with here, right?
And might Gwyn be like around to pipe in here, or is he able to pipe in? I'm not sure what happened to him after that.
He's surely around. Gwyn, you lost Gwyn, when she ran over, and swung the sword, and then like in the sudden blackout, you lost sense of like where she or the skull have gone, but you do hear Ruga starting to argue with your dad.
And I think Gwyn will call out. We need some light. People could get hurt stumbling around in the dark.
So you're backing her up.
Yep.
So like, your dad like seems to like snap out of something almost as he hears your voice. He says, "Right, yes, torches, and he starts organizing some folks to light some torches. He's able to recruit Barrow's grandfather and some of the elders of the other village that he gathered around him. So there start being some light, much more like small and flickering compared to the massive light of the bonfires that was blazing moments ago. It's I don't need to tell you this, but it's uncanny how quickly the light suddenly dissipated. And there's no smell of smoke. Instead, there's just this like sort of kind of ozone scent, right? That like scent like after a lightning strike suddenly pervading everywhere. But yeah, Gwyn Rodri seems to be seeing sense. There are some lights starting to flicker on. What do you do now?
Yeah, I think Gwyn's going to kind of sidle up to Ruga and say, quietly, as I can't be overheard, we need to find Gwyn. She's not herself.
Yeah, I saw her grab the sword. I wasn't sure what was going on with that, but where did she go? Like, she was right there.
I don't know. And yeah, I'm going to start sort of scanning around to try and find her.
Yeah, are you giving your attention to a fraught situation?
I think so.
And I will assist. Like, Ruga is also like looking around. I don't have any sort of magical senses, but I will be there to offer my assistance.
I will accept that help.
Okay, so you're turning to your peers.
My dice have not been great this evening.
All right, so Ruga, you'll make a choice whether you worry, upset, or outshine Gwyn, and Gwyn marks where, or you become tired, shaken, or hurt, and you must mark where. Let me think. To where at the moment?
I think I think that Ruga is.
Sorry, just backtrack slightly. Luned, you opened up, but you're grieving, so you you have to mark where for opening up.
Oh, oops.
It's fine. You still get the fictional benefit, right, of connecting with them, but mechanically, you're actually at I think at probably one where, right? Because you mark one and you clear one based on those results, unless I lost track of where your where was.
No, it was at one before I opened up.
Okay, so you mark one for opening up, and then you clear one for succeeding at opening up. Good. Sorry, bookkeeping. Ruga, choose which way you're helping Gwyn.
I think Ruga's going to take the where. I think emotionally, like, she's sort of got wound up and then unwound quickly, and having to sort of snap herself out of it and yell at the adults, while slightly therapeutic, also kind of is burning up her energy stores, because she was still sort of worn down, when we started out. So I think this is just sort of, this stress is just sort of pushing her a little bit harder down the wear track.
Absolutely. Gwyn, go ahead and roll plus caution, but you have a little hedge, because a miss is a 7 to 9 and a 7 to 9 is a 10, thanks to Ruga's assistance.
That is a total of 7, so that will be a 10 plus.
Nice. You get to ask 3 questions from the Give Your Attention list.
Sure. So I think I'm going to ask, how can I help Gwyn? Is going to be my first priority, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you start putting the pieces together. You realize that at the yew tree, Gwyn's spirit was overshadowed by the spirit of her older sister, who is, it seems, trying to help, but that does put Gwyn in the awkward position of an unready channeler here.
Yeah.
So if you could somehow lead that spirit away, help it to another place, that would be what helped going.
Yeah, perfect. What should I be afraid of? I think it's going to be my next one.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Sorry, I'll go for instead. How could I protect myself? Because I think I know what I think I should be afraid of here. So whether or not I'm correct in that front, but
all right. Second question is, how can I protect myself? I think. Yeah, I think you have to. I think it's the doors that can protect you, because there are dangerous magical forces afoot here. You know your dad. Him raising his voice like that and doubling down in anger is so unlike him. Something is stirring up negative feelings. Something is trying to instill anger and violence into this town. You might need to use, say, the door of iron to hold still, right, or the door of stone to bind, in order to keep things from keep blood from being shed, and the situation from getting worse.
Cool. And I think the last one I'm going to go for is how could I get to the bottom of this? So I guess kind of, yeah, that's sort of, I guess, how where do I need to go to, I suppose, to get to find Gwyn, I suppose, is probably what I see as being that. But yeah, how can I get to the bottom of this?
Oh, nice. Yeah. I think you spot where she's kind of wandering, confused, like sword dragging along the ground behind her, and she's headed towards her house, the Pendry residence.
Makes sense. Yeah, and I think I'll catch hold of Ruga's arm, and just give her a kind of gentle tug to get her attention, and then start heading off after Gwyn.
Nice. So Ruga, are you going along with Gwyn?
Yes, a little bit slower. Like that sort of stiff leg she had now is almost a fully pronounced limp again. So she is limping after him.
Yeah, absolutely. As you're heading over, suddenly standing in the way is Gerald, and he's like, his eyes look a little unfocused. He's kind of like staring around, right? Confusion and anger. And he spots you, Ruga, and like looks right at that brooch you were given and says, "What? What are you doing, Ruga? You're taking the things from the outsiders. And like, just kind of like shaking his head, furrowing his brow. He reaches over and like grabs roughly for the brooch.
And I think Ruga's reaction, just without really thinking about it, because the brooch is still sort of a new thing to her. She yanks it away, and she like stares up. What is it to you if I take a gift?
Nice.
It's none of your business.
Nice. I think we'll cut away, and then when we check back in, we'll see how that is unfolding. Barrow, you were like, making your awkward exit from the rooftop group, and kind of like scrambling down from the house. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like as you like land on the ground is when like the lights all go out and you're plunged into darkness.
Ooh.
Mhm.
What
Glad I made it
do you
down.
do?
Well, that's a tough call.
You hear what we were hearing before, right? Like, first like noises of confusion, noises, turning to anger.
Yeah, I think Barrow is going to look up into the sky. Are there any stars out? Is the moon out? Is it? Are we just in?
It's a full moon, right? Like, it's the
Oh,
night of it's the closest full moon to the winter solstice is when this festival
Right.
occurs. So yeah, there's a moon out, but there's almost a strange orange sheen to it at this moment.
Oh, okay. I guess Barrow's going to try to make their way in the darkness towards the sound of people.
Cool. Just kind of sort of feeling your way towards the dance floor almost.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. As you're heading there, you nearly bump into Gwyn, who seems to be almost kind of like stumbling towards the Pendry house, and she has a sword clutched in her hand. What do you do?
Hey, Gwyn. Hey, what's going on?
The dead are coming. They're bringing blood and fear. I have to warn everyone. And her voice sounds like it's coming from far away.
Okay, I can help. I can help warn people. Let's go. I can help warn people. I can hold that sword while you got to climb up the trellis to warn your sister, and there's some other folks up there, but you got to climb the trellis, and you can't do that with a sword in your hand, obviously. So once you get up there, I can get up there too.
Nice. Is there a move you're triggering, or this is just kind of trying to negotiate here?
This is just trying to negotiate.
Perfect. Yeah. She'll kind of like shove the sword at you, kind of roughly, and then try to, and then start climbing up the trellis, like she's done it a million times.
Oh yeah, because she lives there. That makes sense.
What is the next step of your plan, Barrow? Because you can't climb with the sword either, I don't think.
It's a great plan. You all are gonna be amazed when it comes to fruition. It's gonna be such a twist.
I mean, Barrow, is it possible you're causing trouble by failing to plan?
I think that's totally possible.
Because that is a milestone for you.
It's true. I think Barrow's going to find some shrubs or some rocks. There's got to be something decorative that is like that is opaque near this house, and Barrow is going to hide the sword furtively there, and I guess climb up after. Yeah,
nice.
Climb up the trellis after.
That's great. Yeah. Luned, you're up at the top of the roof. You were talking to the outsiders, right, about attempting to set your sister's soul to rest. When you hear, is it Gwyn's voice? It sounds like it should be Gwyn's voice, but it's like it's coming from far away. Even though when you like peer over the edge, you see she's definitely climbing up the trellis, right? And she's saying, the doors are all opening. no one will be left if he has his way.
And I say, Gwyn? Are you... What's wrong?
And she's like suddenly at the top, right? Like, just like put on a burst of speed climbing and just like grabs you by the by your fancy signet, right? Your circlet of willow branches, and says, Luned, and something about it sounds like how Rosalind used to say your name.
And I sort of stare at her, and then I whisper, and I think of how Gwyn's already been kind of haunted, and I whisper, Rosalind?
And she sighs, and it's this mournful sigh, but also a sigh of relief, like from someone who hasn't heard her name in a long time.
Is that really you? I've been trying to find out about the yew tree so I can help you, so you can be at peace. Gwyn's been trying too. We've both been trying to help you since we couldn't before.
Yeah, and like the that same the voice coming out of Gwyn says, yes, tell Gwyn thank you, and I'm sorry. I know that she loves me, and I wouldn't do this, but there was nothing else I could do. Luned, it sounds a little like you're opening up again, so maybe we're gonna roll that move one more time here. As you recall, due to your grief, you have advantage on this move, but you also have to mark where. So you get to roll 3 dice, which we forgot to do that bonus before, but this time 3 dice, and you pick the top 2.
Okay. And wow, even with advantage, that was 6.
Even with advantage, that's a 6.
I got 2 3s and a 1.
But you do have honesty.
Oh yeah, I do have honesty.
Okay. Oh man. Oh boy. So then it's an 8.
Okay.
I was worried there. On any hit, there is solace in your closeness. You share strength with one another and both unmark one wear. Luned, how do you offer solace to Rosalind or Gwyn or both in this moment?
I think I just I wrap my arms around her, and so I'm just like kind of whispering into her neck, but I say, we love you too. We both missed you so much, and we'll never ever forget you.
Yeah, I think she weeps gently into your shoulder. And for anybody watching, they would see, a strange mist rising from the tears. Go ahead and mark off your milestone. Speak with one of the dead.
Woo!
Barrow, you were climbing up the trellis yeah, the girl you were talking to earlier like pokes her head down and says, "You bird kid,
Yeah. But,
you know stuff about trees?
yes, I do. Yes, I do.
We need to do a tree ceremony up here right now."
Yes. Okay. This sounds. Yes, I can do that. Let's go.
Great. Yeah. We'll check back in on that in just a second. Ruga, you were kind of confronting Gerald, who had snatched at the brooch. You like yanked it back from him, or remind me what exactly happened there.
Basically, I got the picture I had in my head was that basically he reached out for the brooch, sort of groping at it, but kind of clumsily, like probably he's been drinking, and Ruga just sort of yanked it back, instinctively, and said, what business is it? What makes it your business if I get a gift from somebody? Hands off.
Do you think this comes to a call out again, or do you think that, or is there something else going on?
I don't think it's quite a call out. She's not questioning his sense or his courage. She's just basically saying, back off. It's none of your damn business. It's more of like an angry teenager thing than a call out thing, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Then as you like try to say this, he says, "What's that pretty boy from out of town think he can just come here, give out brooches?" And like, he like, pulls a like knife from his belt and says like, "Why, I ought to teach him." He's like looking around, seeing if he can find where the where that outsider, or possibly any outsider, has gotten to.
And at this point, I think Luned kind of sees that maybe he's
Ruga does. Yes.
Ruga, sorry. Ruga sees that this is he's not acting rationally, and is she's not sure if it's she's thinking he's just like being a belligerent drunk, because he was whistling at Luned earlier, and then he saw Luned wander off with all these with the pretty boy from out of town, and so she's thinking he's just being sort of stupid, grumpy, angry, and when he pulls the knife, I think she realizes that maybe something else is going on, because Gerald doesn't usually get this invested in really anything. He's
usually much more chill. This is an unexpectedly angry side to him.
And I think she looks over at Gwyn and says, that doesn't seem like Gerald. And then she punches Gerald in the face really hard.
Okay, resorting to violence?
Yes, I think so.
I mean, I think unambiguously you're resorting to violence if you punch someone in the face really hard.
Yes.
Choose one you hope to accomplish.
Basically, she wants to knock him out before he can throw that, use that knife on somebody.
Okay. Yeah. Knock him out. If it possibly can be done, roll plus resolve. Yeah, it is possible that a sucker punch might drop Gerald. Blacksmith's apprentice though he is, you've been working at those same anvils. No matter what, it's unpleasant and intense, so you are going to mark where.
Okay.
And remind me, what does that bring you to?
4.
So you struggle to continue, exhausted?
Yes. Like I said, she's got enough adrenaline to stagger on, but it's burning. She's going to burn through that quick.
All right. So running on purely adrenaline, you are trying to just lay out Gerald here. Go ahead and roll plus resolve.
Okay, let's see how this goes. Let's see, that's a 6 on the dice. I think my resolve is 2, but let me double check.
It's 2.
Yes. So that's an 8.
On a 7 to 9, your victim's player chooses what you accomplish. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't think you knock him out. I do think you hurt him badly. So I think he stumbles back. There's like some blood streaming down his face, and he's spluttering in anger and confusion. Gwyn, you're witness to this. You're also hearing noises of anger and confusion start to spread through the town. There's people. There's some people who've been organized to start getting torches, but there's other people who are shouting recriminations back and forth. I think the blacksmith, good old Corin, is hefting aloft the skull of the beast, and he's saying, they've even left a bit of their fancy gold on it. One of the outsiders attacked it, trying to disrupt the ceremony. Right. So there's shouting. There's trouble brewing. Ruga has just punched Gerald, but he's not out, and he's got a knife. Gwyn, what do you do?
I think Gwyn is going to stoop down and pick up a piece of stone from the ground, hold it in one hand, and reach under his shirt to pull out the key. And he presses the key against the stone, closes his eyes and concentrates for a moment before the key sort of almost slips into the piece of stone, and he's going to turn it. And I'm going to attempt to open the door of stone to free people's will.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this is one of your conjurer moves.
Indeed.
So go ahead and yes, you're opening a door and letting its power flow. You want to unlock the door of stone. Go ahead and roll plus resolve.
Well, that's a 12 on the dice, so that's a 14 in total, finally.
On a 10 plus hit, your will be done. So Gwyn, this is some clutch conjuring here. Tell me a little about what it looks like. Like how do you know that the door of stone has been opened, and you are successfully conjuring its power to work your will here?
Yeah, I think as he as he turns the key in the stone, I think he sees kind of a very faint tracery of a door in front of him that's it looks like a big stone carved portal, and as he twists the key, the portal sort of rolls open. And I think he kind of reaches out and can see this like gauzy power that is kind of like glomming onto people, and is clearly sort of the doing something to them. And I think he's just sort of like pulling at these threads of it and sort of gathering it up and feeding it into this doorway.
Yeah, absolutely. So the wills of the people are freed, you hear kind of the incipient violence and anger start to peter out back into simple confusion. Yes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And we'll just put a cap on it and say Gerald is wiping the blood off his face, and then he says to you, Ruga, in a voice that's definitely not his, "Mark my words, warrior. One day you will wield your spear for me." Gwyn, you recognize the voice, but then Gerald shakes his head, blinks. What was going on? And over on the dance floor, the skull of the beast that the blacksmith was holding up just shatters, and the splinters of bone just fall everywhere. Barrow, I'm checking in with you for what may be one last kind of key moment here. Are you going to assist the outsiders in calling on the trees?
Yeah, I think so.
So I suspect it might be a call on superstition.
I was thinking that, or like a creative interpretation of well prepared.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's really interesting because, of course, you could have somehow picked up that lost U rune that we've referenced in the past as something that yeah. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I think let's take that risk.
All right. When you search your supplies for something sorely needed, say what it is and roll plus learning.
It's the U tree token. Is what he? Oh no. So that is a 6 altogether, I believe. Yes. So let's look at that move. What is a miss? On a miss, choose 2, then be prepared for the worst. Oh, okay. I think it's not on. I think it is not on Barrow's person, and he has a memory of years and years ago that he was up here maybe for his maybe for the first time when he had first met Luned, and Luned had said, "You got to come look at the festival," and maybe Luned had explained this is getting way too in depth. Maybe Luned had explained like what the festival like meant, and these are sorcerers that they're burning, and sorcerers are people who can see the future and things like that. And
this is when you were all like very young, and she's just gabbling what she's heard from her parents about this. Does that sound right, Luned?
Yeah.
And Barrow had gotten a sense from this. At some point, he'd gotten a sense from this U token, and at that, he sort of had an idea like, this might be me. This might be me. I need to put this down. And so there, where it was left many years ago behind an awning or something.
Oh, you'd hidden it up here all those years ago.
Is this token. And it is, well, shoot, I'm not sure of the other one.
I think I can do it. It's not quite what you hope for if it's like molded away a little bit in the intervening time, right? Like it hasn't been taken care of. So like everything else about the U, it's a little neglected, right? And you're like wondering, will it do the trick?
That sounds perfect.
But like as the the outsiders are saying, like there's an unquiet spirit here now. We need to call the U tree back to this town. Barrow knows what to grab. And then I guess my only question is, how do you know that the that as they kind of like chant their like the half they can remember of the invocation of the U tree, and you place the rune that has been is like partially molded away. How can you tell that this will bring only a temporary peace to the village?
Ooh. Let's say there is a weird here. Let's say there is on this talisman there is what little outline can be seen through the sort of decay and the rot. There's the little outline glimmers and lights up slightly, but it begins to crack, and this wooden token, like, it just can't take it, and it cracks, and parts start to crumble.
Oh, so actually it uses up what's left of the rune to do this. Yeah, so as the rune crumbles away in Barrow's hands, the two outsiders like finish their chant and kind of themselves collapse a little exhausted, right? Calling on this tree from this village is particularly taxing. And Luned, you feel in your arms your sisters just kind of collapse into you, and the soft crying that was turning into this ghostly mist becomes just you know just you know the snotty sobs of a 12-year-old who's had a way too taxing day, and that it's Gwyn you're embracing on the roof here. And with that, happy festival of the longest night. Let's take that short break that was requested and then come back to do epilogues. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Take 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and epilogue it up. Hey, how's everybody doing?
Great.
Thank you so much for sticking around. Always hard to to stick that landing on timing, but we'll do our epilogues here and then pat ourselves on the back for an exciting series of Tales from the Low Cantrefs. So I think the way I want to do this is go around and have each person just do give us like the briefest little glimpse of like what their character does in the like days ahead, right? Just like a little like, a little like shot in a montage. And then we'll go around and make our rolls for the years pass, where we'll be rolling plus milestones and then seeing if we get a few quiet years or if we get darkness creeping across the Cantrefs and these stanzas of the poems of doom getting marked. Sound good? All right. So firstly, just a little like, in the days ahead, what do we see? Luned, do you want to start us off? What would we see for Luned, in the more immediate aftermath of these events?
Sure. So I guess the very first thing will be like Gwyn and I having a long heart-to-heart talk about what has happened, and me relaying what Roslyn said to her, and we both kind of, cry in each other's arms and peel a bit. Sorry, I'm just looking at my card again. Which unfortunately I don't think counts as deliver terrible news to someone, since even though we cry a lot, it's still basically good news.
Yeah.
But I do think I do get to set a firm boundary with a loved one.
Oh, what might that be?
When my mother springs the, by then unsurprising to everyone except me, news that she's trying to set up an engagement for me with Mal, and she's under the impression that we're going to be married in 6 weeks.
You seem to really hit it off at the dance.
So it is definitely one of those situations where I put my foot down and tell my mother that I'm not being shoved into this. I don't care what it does to our standing in the village. But I did kind of I did kind of bond with Mal a little over the fact that he listened to me and was able to help me with my sister. So I think I do end up in the awkward position of being like, I changed my mind 6 months later. We're getting married after all. You can't stop me, Mother.
And she raises an eyebrow, but this time more sardonically. That's wonderful. You can go ahead and strike off that milestone. I think that's legit to hit as part of the epilogue. Ruga, let me ask you, what do we see in this montage of Ruga in the days ahead?
I think the immediate montage is Ruga grabbing Gwyn by the collar and going, "Who the hell was that?"
Yeah, and I think Gwyn says, I think he calls himself Lord Rock, but I don't know much more than that.
And I think the montage you see after that for Ruga and Gwyn, let me know if you don't like this, but I think Ruga spends a lot of time talking with Gwyn about what exactly this Lord Rock meant and how she can go about protecting herself from whatever this thing is. If it can apparently drive a whole village crazy, seems like it did, how could she protect herself from it, because it said it wanted to take control of her or make her work for it or something like that, and she is not down with that. So we see her kind of talking with Gwyn, and maybe sort of, I don't know exactly necessarily how the magic all kind of comes together, because that wasn't my playbook, so I didn't really dive too deep in it. But basically, figuring out ways to protect herself. Maybe it's like a rune charm or something like that. Just something to sort of help her feel like she's not just completely in the wind, because she had no idea there was this creepy undead thing that had decided that she would make a good vessel or something. Like,
so you are putting your heads together with Gwyn in hopes of finding some way to protect yourself from being suborned by this ancient dead that seems to have its eye on you.
yes.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Absolutely.
Now, I'm thinking that may actually hit her last milestone, which is actually trying to plan something instead of just basically barging into it head first.
Nice.
It said make and follow a plan instead of leaping in would be the last milestone on my list that I hadn't hit yet.
I say mark it off. That seems like a good milestone epilogue to me. Gwyn, for your epilogue, and you can elaborate in any way on stuff from Ruga, or bring us into more personal Gwyn stuff, or whatever you'd like here. What do we glimpse of Gwyn?
Yeah, I think we see Gwyn as ever, decked out in his mother's cloak, and he is back up at the ruins, and I think he's tending to the yew tree, sort of pruning the branches back a bit, and generally showing some respect to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to make up a little bit for lost time on the part of the village of Sindel. I like that a lot. Shall we go to Barrow? What do we see in your epilogue of the days ahead?
I think in the immediate aftermath, there's just silence and then maybe some nodding. And in the days ahead, there's a lot of scenes of Barrow with this almanac open on his grandfather's kitchen table, writing in explicit stuff about the yew tree, and maybe there's a silent scene of him arguing with his grandfather, and then a scene of them talking as they both work to fill in this information that's been lost.
Right. And your grandfather says, I promised my best friend never to tell exactly why the worship of the yew tree became neglected, but perhaps you are right, Barrow, that the time has come to change our ways and make sure that this town can rest quietly when it needs to. Let's go back around and roll some dice. How's that sound?
Terrifying.
Oh yeah. So this is the move Years Pass, which is on the basic move sheet, but which we can now actually use because we have the Doom stanzas that plug into it. So Years Pass. When the years pass, reflect upon your experiences and count the milestones you achieved. Then roll plus milestones. On a 10+ hit, there are a few quiet years, like the sun breaking through a dreary sky. Things are well for now. On a 7 through 9 hit, darkness creeps across the Cantrefs like night's slow tide. Mark 1 stanza on your playbook's doom. This is true ever after and cannot be undone. On a miss an ill wind blows, and doom gathers like a storm that will drown the world. Mark 2 stanzas on your playbook's doom. These are true forevermore and cannot be undone. So we're getting a glimpse here of the slowly building apocalypse in the background of the Cantrefs, and we'll see to what extent our characters have perhaps staved it off for a little while, or perhaps not. Luned, you have marked some milestones. How many have you marked?
Let's see. I have marked 3 of them.
Fantastic. Yeah, go ahead and roll 2d6 plus 3.
Oh, okay. That is a natural 10.
Plus 3.
So,
There are a few quiet years, like the sun breaking through a dreary sky. So give us one last glimpse of like how things are well for Luned, or for the town, or for both towns in the years that pass.
yeah, so I do end up marrying Mal a couple years down the line, and this marriage, unlike the last one between the two towns, actually does function as a little bit of the bridge. And you start like the attitude of suspicion is very much built up, so it doesn't all go away, but you start seeing people passing back and forth a little more, and it's like the attitude towards outsiders in both towns like slides a little bit away from, they're fundamentally untrustworthy and probably evil, and more towards like they're all just extremely weird over there and a little bit crazy.
Can't believe they don't worship the oak tree.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's this warming of relations, and of course, your mother is pleased because that has a positive effect on trade. I love it. Ruga, if you would tell us how many milestones you have marked.
She actually hit up 4.
Perfect. What could go wrong? Go ahead and roll 2d6 plus 4.
That is a 4 on the dice, so plus 4 will be 8.
Okay. On a 7 to 9, darkness creeps across the Cantrefs like night's slow tide. Mark 1 stanza on your playbook's doom. Let's take a look at that. Honestly, let's add that right into the stream. So we are looking at the blade. This is the poem of wrath. Trumpets blast and howl to quake the restful world. Peace is slain, his hot blood scorches gentle hands. Plows shall be broken, stillness be shattered. Carnage rides in terror's wake. All blades will drink their fill. So go ahead, and you're marking the first stanza here. Tell us what that is.
Let's see. Now I choose one of the stanzas, or do I have to mark the first one in line?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
They don't seem to be in any particular order. It doesn't look like there's a build or anything.
Oh man, I had assumed it was in an order, but go ahead, and if you'd like to pick one, I say go ahead.
Let's see. I think distant kings shall wake a fire from fever dreams of conquest. One cannot be forgotten by the world forever. So I think building on what Luned had said, basically, you've got this sort of peace and loss of suspicion from the small towns, but there's movement, out at the edges from these foreign kingdoms or other hostile nations, and they start to make encroachments, and you start to sort of see these conflicts that once we'd never even hear about because they were so far away. Now we can see smoke in the distance and hear the rumors of war as they build.
Does Ruga pick up her family's spear once more then?
Oh, I think so. She spent a lot of time with Gwyn trying to make sure she was protected from whatever this ghost thing is, because she can't stab a ghost. But she is picking the spear up again to make sure that if the war comes, that she's ready.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Gwyn, let's turn to you. How many milestones did you get to mark?
I marked 2 milestones. So yeah, I will
go ahead and roll 2d6 plus 2.
That is a 9 in total.
9 total. Okay. Yeah. So darkness creeps across the Cantrefs like night's slow tide. You're going to mark 1 stanza from the poem of ruin here for the door.
Oh, let's see.
Oh wow! Oh, these are juicy.
Yeah. I think it's got to be the door of bones splinters and answers to no key. Death is awash and cannot hold the flood. Spirits walk the night and haunt their kin. And yeah, I think as described, there is just there's an increase in spectral activity. I think Gwyn is trying to work out ways of slowing this down, but having lost the power of the door of bone, there is little he can do to kind of hold them back.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the only silver lining is does he hear his mother's voice among these spirits that walk the night?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
And his cloak kind of tugs itself around him of its own accord, like it's trying to give him some sort of comfort here. Barrow, how many milestones did you mark? Sorry, you're muted.
Barrow marked 2 milestones.
All right, so roll 2d6 plus 2.
Sounds good. Oh, that is 11 plus 2, so 13.
There are a few quiet years, like the sun breaking through a dreary sky. So tell us a little bit about how, from Barrow's perspective, from the perspective of the loom of like provision. These years are kind of a grace note amidst these strange events.
I think in trying to do due diligence in the research of the almanac, I think Barrow ends up knocking on Gwyn's door, and they go bird watching together regularly, and they talk, and at the very least, Barrow learns a lot about the yew tree, and learns a lot about not being the only one in this town.
Got it. So it's the ties that bind there as these two discover their kind of common connection to the supernatural. Yeah. Does that work for you, Gwyn?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I love it. This has been Tales from the Low Cantrefs. Thank you all for playing. Thank you to anyone watching along, and to the designer of the game, Luke Jordan. Thank you so much. I've loved playing this game, and I loved getting to have those years pass rolls at the end. Those are high stakes. Those are tense and fascinating. All right, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and stop our broadcast. So stay safe out there, everybody.